pull up poll closing times.
And we're on air. Poll closing times on 270 to win. Just open a new tab for 270 to win.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull it up on my phone.
Okay. Okay, welcome everybody to a joint election prediction video. This was originally supposed to be a debate with a Trump supporter, but as Trump supporters usually are, let's not go there. The Trump supporter was unable to come. There we go.
He was keeping us in suspense.
Yeah, he was keeping us in suspense, which was horrifying, undermining our time. I mean,
It was done an hour or so ago. 2 hours ago, actually, but
2 hours ago. But we held on for a Trump supporter, even though we didn't want to. But so we're gonna do this joint prediction now, and
yeah, I'm trying to pull this up on my phone. Give me just a second. For those of y'all who can see, this is my map. I'm going to bring this up in a second. I'm going to be using all the colors.
Let's do this. Let's do your prediction, then I'll do my prediction. I'll do my prediction, and then we'll converge our predictions.
Yep. And yeah, so God damn it, I need to bring this up. This is why I like to cite Ballotopedia or Ballotpedia, whatever. So the first states, and I'm going to kind of do this by the order I expect the states to be called. So I've seen not Michigan. Michigan's a late closing state. Indiana is probably the first state that's going to get called, along with Kentucky, and they're going to get called early for Trump. I think South Carolina and Georgia, or South Carolina and Vermont will also be called pretty early. As you know, those are the states that you expect to see called early. I think the next two states that get called would be West Virginia and Georgia. Georgia, I think, will be in this likely category, the first somewhat competitive state. West Virginia not being competitive at all. And that leaves 3 states, and I need to get a pen and write this down. Of course I do. So then H and C. There we go. And I think those are the states that will actually get called fairly soon. Then we're going to get, I think, Tennessee, Alabama, and Mississippi will all be called fairly safe for Trump, as will Arkansas and Oklahoma. Out of the next group, Illinois also gets called for Clinton pretty quick. I think Pennsylvania will take a while. DC, Maryland, and Delaware will probably all be safe Clinton. I don't see a reason why they wouldn't be. Connecticut and Rhode Island as well, I think, are in that same boat. The other states in that time are going to take a tiny bit longer, except Massachusetts, and Maine. Maine, I think the first district's going to be fairly safe. I think the state as a whole will lean. I think the state.
Clinton's leading in the
Yeah, I was going to say she's leading in that
second congressional
district, but at the same time, we don't know how the news is going to affect the high amount of undecideds we still have, who at this point are mainly super low education voters, who when they see the word.
We've already had polls out since the
And not a lot. We've
reopening of
had
the
like what,
investigation.
3 polls?
Well, one national poll
Yeah, which
that
is
tightened it a little bit.
yeah. I was about to say, but
one
we haven't
point.
seen anything where the entire polling period is right after it, so we don't know. So I'm just gonna leave it where I've had it, which it's just because yes, we've seen some polls where it has been going back in Clinton's favor, but not by a whole lot. And if the race is tightening, that means that district is going back. I guess at this point you'd start getting some returns. I think Virginia would get called blue at this point. I think likely. New Hampshire would probably be a lean. North Carolina is going to be extremely close at this point. Ohio as well. Florida is also one of those. So I've got called VA in New Hampshire. I've got Ohio. Jersey. I can't believe I forgot Jersey. We go blue. Ohio, PA, FL,
This time.
MO. And the next time slot I've got is the one where we basically find out who would be president in this time zone, if they come in as expected. Louisiana's safe, Trump. Texas will get called, but I have noticed that a lot of the polls show it being an 8 to 10 point lead for Trump, so I'm going to put it as likely. Arizona and Colorado.
Individual polls actually have him in the lead by 2 to 3 points. I don't want to say that they're going to call the state of Texas for Donald Trump, but it's going to be so close.
New Mexico, of course, is going to be a likely state. Kansas will basically be safe Trump. South Dakota as well. Wyoming, if he's not leading there by 30, there's issues. Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan will take quite a bit for us to hear anything back from them.
Ben,
Yeah.
I would not say Michigan. I'd say Michigan would be pretty soon, before Wisconsin, and Minnesota,
See.
because she's got a very good lead in that state.
I mean, I've seen it down to 5 recently, but that is a good point. Oh yeah, I forgot about New York, which would be very, very blue.
Very. An embarrassment for Trump for losing his own state.
I mean, I'm not even. I'm trying to remember if anybody's actually lost their home state and won. I mean, you could count George W. For losing Connecticut. But then again, most people count it as where you actually spent most of your career.
I thought George W.'s home state was Texas.
Exactly. Because W was actually born in Connecticut, if I remember correctly. New Haven, Connecticut. Minnesota. Wisconsin. Yeah, I guess Michigan would get called. I still I'll put it as likely just because that's probably where it will be. It'll be like around a 5 to 6 point lead. I don't think it'll be 11. So those are states I've got. You know, at this point, I think Missouri would get called for Trump, but at about, I'd say between 6 and 10.
I think at this point, we pretty much know. I mean, not
based
know
on,
who the president is, but we know which
we'd
way
have a
it's
good
going.
idea. We'd have a good idea, but these are all states
Yeah.
that we would expect to be where they are.
We know that Trump's leading in electoral votes, but we know that there's states.
Exactly. And this is what really pisses me off about the way some people watch politics is they assume every state is in play when really it's not. Like I've actually seen people I've actually seen Democrats who cheer like it's the greatest party on earth when they win California, even though it's completely expected.
I hate when Republicans go into the election saying, well, it's not going to be official until November 9th when you know good and well how the polls are leaning.
Yeah, exactly. We know where it would be going at this point, but this kind of the states everybody expects to go there. Nebraska and Iowa are the next group, as well as Montana, Utah, and Nevada. Let's put that one as likely because I don't know where to put Montana. It's either likely or solid. I'm just going to go solid because that's where most of the polls have put it, except for a few that have shown it within 5, which is weird. It's either a 15-point lead or a 5-point lead. Makes no sense. Nebraska, I'm going to go ahead and do this, but this is going to be a very, very, very lean. I think at this point, Pennsylvania gets called for Clinton as lean by this point at the night.
By this point, North Carolina will probably be called too.
I don't know. North Carolina is going to be within a percentage point, I suspect. Same with Florida.
Maybe. We'll see. Colorado.
I was going to say, well, Colorado was part of the last voting group, and yeah, you're right. It probably would be called as a likely or lean. I'm not sure. Arizona is probably going to lean Trump, I think. But it's exceedingly, up until the next morning, it will be too close to call. So I'm going to leave that there. Nevada, I think there would be some question, but I think it's going to lean Clinton. It's one of the weird states that's given her some of her worst swing state numbers of this election. Iowa, I think, is going to go for Trump at about like 3% or whatever. I think this is going to be the least controversial group of states, except for Utah, where McMullen's going to get like 25% of the vote or something absolutely ridiculous like that.
He's going to slash Trump in half. He could win the state, but media will never project it for him.
Oh, yeah, of course they won't. Not until it actually happens. And even then, they're going to be like, wait, what? Minnesota at this point to get called is leans Clinton because it's also been very weird. Where did I put? Okay. Colorado, I've also crossed that one off. And the next one, these are states that we know where they're going to go, so there's zero controversy here. Oregon, I think, will be within 10, but just barely. Like, it'll be hanging right on that edge. At this point, I do think perhaps Ohio would get called because Ohio seems to be more right-leaning than North Carolina and Florida. So that would be calling Ohio. I think at this point is when Republicans would start celebrating, but they're really not out of the woods yet because they have to sweep the rest of the swing states that are up here, and they have to win. Because if they lose Alaska in some weird twist, but yeah, then
actually, traditionally, Alaska really isn't solid.
No,
it's actually leaning.
It's a very swingy. It is a very swingy, solid state, which doesn't make sense.
And I do not think that people in Alaska are very fond of Donald Trump.
No, they're not fond of either because they're giving Johnson among his highest support as well. We'll go ahead and put it as likely. This is about the same as where 538 has it and RCP has it. So I think that's a
Texas.
fairly safe guess. Yeah, this is about where they have
Texas
Texas
and-
as well. Now, this is where it starts getting a little confusing because basically we've got 4 states here. If any of them go for Clinton, they go.
She wins.
Exactly. I think Arizona actually gets called first out of this group. It's either Arizona or Wisconsin gets called first out of this group.
Trump has to get like a combination of. Actually, he has to get all of them.
No, he has to get all of them. So, but
Yeah,
let's
all of
assume Arizona gets called first. And I'd say it's within 2 or 3, depending on what happens. And here's the thing: if any of, let's say, if any of these upper Midwest states get called for, or Rust Belt states get called for Trump, he wins the election, basically. If he's winning Wisconsin, it's very unlikely he loses North Carolina. I mean, I can see it happening, but honestly, I think Clinton still wins Wisconsin, but it's going to be a razor's margin. And I wouldn't put it outside the realm of possibility. I think North Carolina at this point is a true toss-up, and a lot of the polls have shown it stabilizing it at like a 2 to 5 point Clinton lead. So we're going to go ahead and give her North Carolina as well. Florida, I've seen a lot of polls now starting to come in showing Trump up, not just the Selzer and Company, but also the Siena College, Marist, and Monmouth, I believe, also called it, if I remember correctly.
Wait, go back to your prediction real quick. I just want to bring up a point. Your map would make Republicans very excited due to the point that you only had 4 battleground states up there that were in play, and Trump could win all of them.
This would be like the biggest cock tease.
Statistically, he could win all of them.
Oh, yes, but very much so.
Trump supporters have to remember that there is a lot of Clinton support in Texas. There is a lot of Clinton support in Arizona.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Clinton support in states that you called for the Republicans, not bashing what you said, but
oh yeah, no,
they have
I don't think
remember.
It's really support. I think it's anti-Trump movement, just like the support that I saw in some of these states when like in this state and even Minnesota. I think a lot of the Trump support I saw in there was really just anti-Clinton. So I wouldn't. And here's the thing: people don't go turn out to vote against candidates; they turn out to vote for candidates. Voting against somebody just feels wrong to most people, so most of the time they won't do it if that's their primary motive.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised after this email thing blows itself out that Hillary Clinton goes into the election day with in Texas 2 to 3 points and then actually winning it by a point or 2. I would not be surprised, and that's a bold move to make, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Texas.
Well, I would be exceedingly surprised because if we go back here, there's still like a 93% chance, despite despite +3, +7, +8, +5, +5.
Hold on, look.
Which doesn't make sense because
stay there. Last poll conducted. What date was the University of Houston? What date was the Crosswind Media Public one?
This one, October 24th.
Okay,
the most recent ones we have
are
from Ipsos. The most recent ones we
have
is
shrinking.
Well,
and notice the polls that had him up have a worse grade than the polls that have him closer to Clinton.
I was about to say the ones that have him closer are B grade, C minus, B grade. Let's see, what's the next one? Survey USA with an A, Ipsos with an A minus, Google Consumer with a B, Emerson with a B. But the only A that shows it close is Survey USA. Yelling at me for calling it a cock.
Well, you're back pretty far. The grade within the
Yeah,
within
when
the
I look at trend
alignment
lines,
range.
oh yeah,
is,
when I look at trend lines, I look for, let's see, here's the one that tied. This is SurveyMonkey from August 9th. Then you go to the October, the next one, the next most recent one was a SurveyMonkey, showed it moving more towards Trump. And then when you look at the next, is that a SurveyMonkey? Okay. And then you look at the next SurveyMonkey one, shows him going up even more. So that shows you that the next one they publish could very likely be a little more in his favor.
hold on.
So if you're going to look at trend lines, make sure to look at the trend line from the exact same pollster and not just different pollsters, because they tend to do much. Because it's like you don't want to use different things. Let's see. For example, this one isn't really much to go off of because they haven't, Selzer and Company hasn't, polled Florida before in this election. If we look at Survey USA, when was the most recent one?
Real Clear Politics is showing an average of 45 to 41. Trump in the lead. That's 4 points.
Okay, so
With
there
the
are
most
three.
recent poll.
This is in Florida, and it's actually closed up by 1 point. So it's gone back in his favor with this pollster. Let's look at Siena College.
Yeah.
And
The latest poll in Texas was, according to, was Trump plus 7.
So I understand where you're coming from.
He's leading more of what was it? Is he leading more in the state of Georgia? He might be leading equivalent in the state of Georgia and Texas.
Yeah, looking at Wisconsin. Let's Control F this.
Trump supporters think there's royally no chance in the book that Hillary Clinton's going to win Texas. I just have to say this right now. You're wrong.
It's a very small chance. I just don't see it a very large one. Wow, there's only one public policy. No. Okay, I need to refresh this. Okay, so 12. Okay, that was way too long ago for it to even be relevant to looking at.
I have to disagree with you, actually, Ben, because I think that Donald Trump's chances of winning Texas, like I said, I sent to you something, and you brought up the point about Nate Silver, but I said that.
I mean,
there's like a 51.
I'm very
dubious.
I'm dubious of his model right now, just because he definitely seems to be changing the pollsters, the adjustments on the fly, and having different adjustments for the Senate candidates than he does for POTUS, which doesn't make any sense if he's claiming to be an unbiased statistical model. It makes 0 sense.
Well, to be honest, I think Texas is a lot closer than everybody thinks it is.
Oh, well, he does say it's going to be about an 8-point lead.
I don't believe that model
right
there, that has a 6.9 chance of winning. Yeah, I'm just.
Well, here's the thing. It's the reason why it says this is because he runs like 10,000 simulations of his model, and that's the percentage of the time. That's the percent of times that Clinton wins Texas. So that's where that comes from. If we're looking at the popular vote.
Look, though.
Like I said, I'm very dubious of his model. I used to like it simply because it did seem to be more accurate than a lot of the other models out there. CP.
Well,
And it also took in, and he also took into effect, he also had like 3.
I have no clue what in the world to do with Texas simply because the amount of Clinton support I see in the state of Texas is more than any state that I've saw. That the early voting there, early voting, for example, hundreds of pictures of ballot selfies.
I mean, I could pull
whatever.
I could pull up the same picture. I could honestly probably pull up the same stuff in places like New York or California, and it would mean nothing. So, anecdotal evidence isn't something that I honestly look at a lot. But going back to my prediction, North Carolina, like you said, it's going to be too close to call, but the way things have been and the way polls have been showing it, I wouldn't be too surprised to see that be the call. I mean, it's not bad overall. It's definitely an improvement over Romney's score, but I think Trump just is too polarized in a figure for him to make an effective use of the fact that he's running up against a historically weak candidate. And
Hillary?
Listen, you can't deny that her unfavorable rating is 64%. The only person who's been higher in the modern era is the person she's running against.
It is, but I'd like to see you debate Hillary Clinton.
I do better than Trump. Let's be honest here. I do much better than Trump.
Yeah, but I think Donald Trump is a jerk. I think the only reason people think he's a strong candidate is because he's a jerk. He speaks his mind, but his mind is wrong.
Yeah. At least I have statistics to back myself up. Because when I say that banning guns would actually make crime worse, I have Australia as an example. Because homicide attempts went up after they banned firearms. That's actually
ban
true.
Weapons. She's not going to ban weapons.
She wants to. No. I know you're. Yes, she does. I'm gonna bring. I can really do this. She's been quoted as saying that she wants to, silence the NRA, as in remove get rid of them.
People on the
completely get rid of them. They want to get she actually wants to ban the NRA. That's banning free speech, which is even worse than banning, firearms. And she would love to ban handguns. The
NRA is making this country more dangerous.
That is a complete lie, but we're not going to get into the weeds there.
It's not. It's not. They're literally letting people who are on the no-fly list get guns. Don't you think that if you're on the no-fly list, if you're dangerous enough to put on the no-fly list...
Just to let you know, the ACLU, the Civil Liberties Group, is against that bill too, because it doesn't include due process, which is absolutely necessary. Okay, just to let you know, if the ACLU is against your gun law, you fucked up royally. Okay, the ACLU usually doesn't complain about firearms laws.
Look, Hillary Clinton doesn't want to ban all guns. Her husband is a gun owner, for God's sakes. Come on now. Assault weapons do not belong in the hands of Americans. That's ridiculous. Assault weapons that we're using to fight terrorism.
Okay, so
regardless if the terrorists are fighting back at us and killing our own soldiers those don't belong on the streets of America.
According to the Supreme Court, they do. According to the Supreme Court, they do, by the way. In United States versus Miller in 1939, they ruled that the Second Amendment protects those firearms that are consistent with use by militias at the time. Now,
at the time. They're
Well,
killing
when I
United
say at
States.
the time, well,
That should
when
be
I say at the
offensive to all
time,
soldiers.
when I say at the
People are
time,
being
then why the
killed
hell
with
do
these
why
style of
then why
guns
the hell? By the way,
on the
if
street.
soldiers are supposed to be offended, then why the hell are soldiers the most pro-gun group in America?
What?
Yes, they are the most pro-gun group in America. Soldiers make up a very large portion of the NRA because they've seen what a bunch of goat fuckers in the Middle East have been doing to us for 15 years. And then what they did to the Soviets from the 80s into the 90s. What they did to the
Look.
British before that. Okay? To say that
What's
our
your-
last defense against tyranny, aka the Second Amendment, is going to be completely useless is just dead wrong. That's what the Second Amendment is our last defense against tyranny. It's not
Look.
hunting, it's not for sporting. It is literally to kill tyrants.
Yeah, and when they made this, they had a lot less homicide rate. Now it seems that guns are on the streets just to kill people. Now it seems like guns are on the streets for gang-related violence.
I was
And
about
quite
to say,
frankly,
blame
I
gang
think
violence,
that
don't blame
it
the
is.
law-abiding citizen. The law-abiding citizen is not going to do anything with a nuke. Like, if you gave me a nuke, I would
It is
just...
about nukes.
I'm just
It's about
saying...
guns that are in the hands of gangs in the city of Chicago. In the
And
city of
making it
Chicago.
harder for
Let's
a
use
law-abiding
Chicago, for
citizen, and
example.
by the way, and making it harder for a law-abiding citizen to get a gun is not going to change that. It literally won't.
Look,
like I said, when they implemented gun control measures in any nation, there is a correlation between more gun control and increased homicide attempts. Sure, the actual homicide rate went down a tiny bit, but that's because it's harder to kill a person with a knife than it is with a gun. But that doesn't change the fact that more attempts happened. There was more of a chance for a person to die.
to live. Give somebody more of a chance to live.
I'd rather
And
have
quite
less
frankly,
of a chance
hold
of
on.
getting stabbed. I'll be honest with you. I'd rather get shot than stabbed. Because getting stabbed hurts. Like hell.
Yeah, and getting shot doesn't. By multiple people in most cases in America, because your NRA is...
Yeah, but it takes a lot less time to die of that. And here's the other thing. Like I said, the NRA, yeah, they were against that no-fly, no-buy bill for the same reason the ACLU was. And do I have to remind you, the ACLU is left-leaning on most issues? By the way...
Hold on.
There we go.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead. Hey.
Ben,
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm gonna take you full on with your gun situation here, and this might take up the rest of our prediction. But if I don't get my prediction in, I don't care because I want to prove.
And she has said that Australia is an example worth looking at, which, by the way, is mandatory buybacks and confiscations. Then let's look at. There we go. There's the other one that I wanted. And she wants to shut down the NRA. Wow, they literally, wow. Because she did actually. I want to make sure that this is
Let me read
actually
the
correct. Because
Second Amendment for you. Let me read the Second Amendment for you and all the gun owners, so that and then
yes, and
dissect it
before
a
you
little
say,
bit
I was
so you
about to say,
understand.
and we have the correct answer for the well-regulated militia argument.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Do we have terrorists in our country? Do we have Russia in our country? Do we really need to be carrying guns? Of a free state doesn't mean gangs. This doesn't mean somebody robbing your house.
Mm-hmm.
Being necessary to the security of a free state, an overall state. Is your house being robbed the problem of the state of Indiana? Is your house being robbed the problem of the state of California? No. So, a well-regulated militia, regulated, meaning if you're going to carry a gun, you should have a pretty dang good reason to carry the gun, and you should have people
Is self-defense not a good reason,
support that. Self-defense?
even from
It's a
government?
good reason, but not when you're out on the street shooting people for no reason because you don't like them or they didn't give you the drugs. That's not a good reason. That's not
By
self-defense.
the way,
And that's half the reason that people carry guns in the first place.
I was about to say that's not the reason. Your average law-abiding citizen who
Oh,
carries a
law-abiding
firearm.
citizen.
I was about to
Law-abiding
say,
citizen.
let's focus on the law-abiding citizens here, because they are 95% of gun owners. You would want to disenfranchise 95% of the gun owners in America just so that you could potentially harm the ability of 5%.
5%.
And I'm being generous to the criminals and gang members here. I'm being very generous with their numbers. Okay? And
Just so you know.
by the way,
When
do I have to bring up the fact that, gang members and criminals love strict gun laws? Because that means their targets are going to be victims instead of armed people, meaning they're going to have a higher chance of success when they rob somebody or they take from somebody or they try to murder somebody. They have a higher chance of success. They love strict gun laws. If you're a criminal, you don't want to go up against somebody who is pointing a gun right back at you. Now, I'm never for the government spending money, but let's just use this hypothetical. Okay, what if the government gave every woman in America a .45 caliber 1911? Okay, and let's make them pink because it's my idea. Okay, and let's pretend. Okay, let's be nice and say that only 35% keep their guns. The rest sell them, pawn them, give them to dad, whatever. Okay, would you rape somebody knowing that there's a 35% chance you're going to get a .45 caliber bullet in the face? I don't think so.
you're going off on self-defense.
That's just general
why we
self-defense.
wouldn't
Do I need to go into the self-defense against tyranny version of the argument? Because I could very well do that.
That's not even half anything in this country. Related violence, half of it is self-defense, but we're talking about people getting shot on the street too for no reason at all. Because you guys want to keep your guns on the streets of America. That is dangerous. That is dangerous.
How is me
And
owning a firearm and
stop.
carrying it in a non-threatening manner a threat to anyone? A gun doesn't kill a person. A person
It
kills a person. No. So just, carrying one for self-defense is a threat?
You can't just pull it out and shoot somebody.
No, obviously. Any sane person knows that.
Obviously not, because that's what happens.
Well, they're not right in the head, or they've got other motivations, okay? It's
Anyway, hold on.
no question that 80% of the homicides in this nation are gang-related.
Listen,
Okay? And
The Second
that was
Amendment
hard.
has not been revised in a while, as you know.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
And this was created on December 15th, 1791, when guns took 5 minutes to reload.
Which is a lie. Look up the Giordoni air rifle, look up the Belton flintlock, look up the Puckle gun. All constitutional era weapons that fired very quickly. The Giordoni air rifle could fire 800 shots before it needed to be, before the air canister needed to be refilled. And it fired at lethal velocity up until those 800 shots were spent. And the cartridge that it fired from carried 20 rounds. The Belton flintlock was available in 8-round versions, 12-round versions, and 20-round versions. The Puckle gun was essentially the Gatling gun, but 140 years early. All of those the Founding Fathers knew about. As a matter of fact, the Founding Fathers had contracted the Belton flintlock to be purchased for the Continental Army. However, they turned it down when they realized how expensive it would be to actually procure even the 100 that they had ordered. In addition, they had a chance to ban it, but they didn't.
What's funny?
Jefferson outfitted the Lewis and Clark expedition with the Giordoni air rifle.
You know what's funny? James Madison of Virginia, which apparently there's a lot of gun advocates there, was the one who drafted that and put it in the Constitution as a Second Amendment.
I was about to say, along with George Mason.
Okay.
And George Mason gives the correct argument against the well-regulated militia part when he says, who are the militia but the people themselves?
Militia isn't even...
That is an argument that is often brought up against
pro-gun. Not a militia. Just people living in their houses is not a militia.
Yes, it is.
Carrying
Ask
guns
the
in the
Minutemen if they were a
is
militia.
not a militia. Getting together and fighting against other countries who are invading you when your army is pretty much immobile is a militia.
I was about to say, that's the same damn thing. It honestly is.
Bro, they were asking for a well-regulated militia.
I was about to say, the Minutemen would like a word with you. They were not well-regulated. They didn't have regular drills. They were just a group of people who sat together and said, if people come to take away my rights, I'm sure as shit going to fight them. And they came out. And boy, were they effective.
I can tell by now I'm never going to change your mind on anything.
Well, no, I mean, let's be honest here. Firearms are not the issue. It's the fact that, there is a problem where we're not able to prevent gang violence. And the start of that is, ironically, it's not legislating away people's rights. It's increasing their rights. You have to, the first thing you have to do is you need to stop prosecuting drugs and drug offenses as criminal. That's the first thing. Once you remove the motive of going underground, you're going to see a decrease in violence.
Instead of arguing, I'm just gonna let you live to this 21st century with guns in the hands of people who don't deserve them, instead of arguing. So I'm done with this subject.
Well, I was about to let me finish. There was a huge drop in organized crime and a lot of the gang violence after Prohibition ended. Why are we not going to see the same effect happen when we legalize marijuana, legalize heroin, legalize cocaine, stuff like that?
Why would we legalize heroin and cocaine?
I know that's the extreme libertarian in me, but
that's half the stuff Gary Johnson does on a daily basis.
Well, I don't think he does any of that stuff. I think all he does are edibles, but my point is that once we stop the drug war, violence will go down. It doesn't require disenfranchising people's rights.
People are fighting people over drugs. It's not going to stop. And instead of arguing with you over taking away guns or legalizing sorts of drugs, I'm just going to let you live to the 21st century and see what happens. and let you see for yourself what happens. Because let me tell you, the 21st century is going to be booming in new types of guns. Booming in guns that can kill multiple people at one time. And let me tell you, when you're caught in the crossfires and from
at
somebody
least I'll be able
who,
to defend myself because I'll have one.
well,
Just my saying, if I'm gonna be caught in the crossfires, I at least want to be able to shoot back.
not if
Why do
there's
you think
multiple.
Why do you think after the Orlando shooting, the largest group, the group that had the largest increase in gun ownership, was the LGBT community?
I don't know. I'm not going to argue with you.
Because
That's
they
okay.
were smart enough to realize that if they're going to be under attack, it's pretty stupid not to fight back.
Mhm. I can't argue.
Because I'm right. I at least have facts. I have figures. I have statistics. You have the pathos appeal. I have the logos and the ethos. All you have is pathos.
I'm not going to admit I'm wrong. I don't believe I'm wrong. I believe that I want to live, not die. Because I don't have self-defense.
Like I said,
Because I don't have enough money to buy guns. Because I don't have enough money to get anything.
I was
So
about
we
to
have
say,
our poor people out here who are
I was about to
defenseless.
say, I was about to
You guys
say,
carry your guns.
I was about to say,
It's amazing.
you can find some cheap guns that are extremely reliable and that
I
work
just think it's
extremely
amazing.
well.
Amazing how careless gun advocates are, literally. Just saying.
All I'm going to say is the price of freedom is responsibility. And the people and the law-abiding citizens who choose to own a firearm should not be punished for the irresponsible few who decide to be complete idiots.
They're not being punished. They're not being thrown in jail because they own guns. She's taking simply away the assault weapons in this nation.
By the
Keep
way,
your hand. She's taking away the assault weapons.
What the fuck is an assault weapon? I'm sorry.
Silencing the NSA,
this always pisses me off. What the fuck is an assault weapon? It's a made-up term by the media. I'm sorry. It is a made-up term by the media. Yes. What is an assault weapon? Can you tell it in an actual legal definition? What is an assault weapon? Because it differs from state to state, from government to government, from municipality to municipality. There is no clear, consistent definition for an assault weapon. It was made up to confuse people, to make them think they were banning M16s, AK-47s, Galils, Uzis, stuff like that, which had already been so incredibly rare to find in private hands at the time that it became popular to ban them, that it was just made up to confuse people.
If you want me to use facts, then fine. She's going to ban semi-automatic. She's going to ban automatic weapons. If you want the true...
Automatic weapons are essentially banned anyway. I was about to say,
that's
automatic weapons
weapon is.
I was about to say, fully automatic weapons are essentially banned right now. If she wants to ban all semi-autos, that basically includes every handgun that's reasonable for self-defense. If you're talking about semi-automatic rifles, if you're talking about semi-automatic rifles that have certain scary features that add nothing to the lethality of the weapon, but just make them look scary, look up the Ruger 1022, which can have two different loadouts.
For your information,
one that looks like a modern sporting rifle, or one that looks like your traditional dad's hunting gun. The Ruger 1022 is a perfect example of the gun control advocate hypocrisy. The Ruger 1022...
For your information, the media did not make up the assault weapons term. It was an act in 1994 by United States government listing 19 weapons. Had everything to do with the military. The military calls them assault weapons, for God's sakes.
Which is a load of horse crap. Do you want to know what the military actually calls them? They call them assault rifles, except They don't call those 19 guns assault rifles. The military defines an assault rifle as any weapon that fires an intermediate cartridge and is capable of
Intermediate
selective fire. That is the definition of an assault rifle.
They need to go. Do you want me to list all 16 weapons under the term assault weapons? Because I'm not going to do that.
I was about to say, one of them is the AR-15, which is the most popular firearm in America.
It needs to go.
So do you think it actually needs to be confiscated from people?
Unless it's up on their shelf for decoration without any cartridges.
So you actually suggest going door to door to confiscate 100 million AR-15s? It needs to be stopped. By the way, how the hell is that different from the idiocy of deporting 11 million illegal immigrants?
That's not the idea.
Neither should happen.
It's not the idea of Hillary Clinton.
Both are completely...
We're not going door to door. You're ridiculous. You're being ridiculous. We're not going door to door. We're stopping the aid in general.
I'm just using this for argument. The point of this, the point I'm trying to make is we shouldn't be taking away people's rights to fight against a tyrannical government, which is more likely than you would ever believe.
Are you calling our government a dictatorship or something? Because if you want to define a tyrannical government, then you go to North Korea. If you want to define a tyrannical government, you go to Russia or China or one of those countries. Because if you want to be controlled, if you want to see what states' rights is, if you want to see...
Do you want to know what's common to all three of those nations you listed? Zero civilian firearms ownership.
That's incorrect. Maybe North Korea.
Really? I'm pretty sure China has a civilian gun ban. Russia allows hunting rifles.
That's a gun.
Because, yes, but it's completely ineffective at fighting the government. Other than limited instances where you have a lot of people.
Why would you fight the government?
If you were in
Why
Russia,
would you fight the government in the United States?
I'm just saying, for example,
oh my gosh.
The Second Amendment was not implemented for hunting or sporting. It was implemented as the final check against tyranny. You can look at every single quote of the Founding Fathers with regards to the Second Amendment and firearms ownership, and they will back that up 100%. George Washington, a free people ought to be armed. Thomas Jefferson, what are a few lives lost in a century or two for the tree of liberty? For it must be irrigated with the blood of patriots and tyrants alike, for it is its natural manure. James Madison, for Christ's sakes, signed a letter of marque and reprisal for privately owned cannons. He said, yeah, it's perfectly okay if you own cannons. It's also perfectly okay if you want to take out British shipping. I'm not going to ask for them back after the war. You can keep them. I don't care. Gun control was historically used as a measure of keeping down the African American population. Why do you think every single black code in the South or Jim Crow law mentioned that firearms could not be possessed by African Americans? Because that's true. Gun control is historically used as a very racist policy.
Well, for your information, gun control. I mean, I'm never going to be for guns just all over the country because this.
And for those of you who are listening and on Reddit, just look up the subreddit Defensive Gun Use, because they pile up a lot of stories really quick.
Obviously, the people on Reddit think your gun information is false too, because we only have one viewer.
I think that's Nicole, and I think I'm blowing up a little bit here. but I'm very
No,
passionate.
I am too. It's fun.
I'm very passionate about firearms ownership.
Very passionate about my life. So,
I mean, I'm passionate about my life, which is one of the reasons why I'm passionate about keeping my ability to defend myself with any weapon I choose.
well, if nobody has a gun, then nobody's going to die. Nobody
Which,
has weapons in the first place, nobody's going to die. If you
which is
ban
not
all
true.
weapons, nobody's going to die. All weapons.
Yes, because people are going to listen to that ban. Let's think
Well, if you keep
rationally
making them.
here. You're a criminal. Let's think rationally here. If you're a criminal and the government says you're not allowed to get a gun, are you actually going to follow that?
No, but it'd be smart to.
Exactly. You just answered the question why gun control fails. Criminals are criminals. They don't follow laws. They break them. It's in the definition of the word criminal. A criminal is going to look at a gun law and say, oh, good. I can shoot this person without risking my own life.
Well, I'm sorry.
Why do you think mass
I'm sorry to
shootings
tell you
happen in
that.
gun-free zones?
I'm sorry
Because
to tell
there's
you
no
that,
defense.
Hillary Clinton's going to be president, and she's going to take all your assault rifles away.
Well,
I can't wait for
she's
that.
going to lose a lot of people trying. She is going to lose a lot of people trying if she tries to take my guns. Because if somebody comes in and says, can we have all your firearms, I'm going to shoot him in the face. That is a
You're gonna
promise.
Shoot the government in the face? That's
I
what
will
you're
shoot
gonna
anyone who... I don't care if I die. I literally don't. It's more about fighting for my rights than it is about preserving my life under a system where I do not have the right to defend myself. It is a God-given right to defend yourself. Why would you take that away?
God-given? God did not intend to have guns on this earth. If he did, it would have been created a long time ago. God-given right to defend yourself? God-given
you're
right to
saying
murder somebody? It is
Okay.
a commandment, thou shalt not murder.
Yes, and even the Catholic Church says that in self-defense cases, it is okay to take another life. Even the Catholic fucking Church says if it's
I'm not
self-defense,
Catholic.
it is... No, I understand. I'm just saying, as a baptized Catholic, I've read the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and under that commandment, thou shalt not murder, it says self-defense does not apply in this instance because self-defense, your life is more valuable than your attackers. Okay? When I say God-given right to self-defense, I mean if somebody is attacking you, you have a right to fight back. Unfortunately, that means you should be allowed to use the most efficient and most effective means possible. In today's world, that is a firearm.
It's God-given
saying
right.
you would rather have me
It's
fight.
God-given right to carry firearms and for self-defense. Fifth commandment, thou shalt not kill. What does this mean? We should fear and love God that we may not hurt or harm our neighbor. In this case, everybody is our neighbor in his body, but help and befriend him in every bodily need. Which means if somebody's not carrying a gun or a knife to affect you, you have no right to shoot them in the face.
So I have no right. So I have no right to fight back if somebody's about to shoot me. So I just have to sit there and take it.
I just said.
You just said that if somebody
does not have a gun or a knife, maybe you were talking over me because you tend to be doing that a lot. If somebody has a gun or a knife, I just said, does not have one, you have no right to shoot them in the face. You came on and implied that if somebody's about to shoot you, and then you tried to correct me on that. I clearly said that, and you were talking over me.
If no one has a gun and a knife, I'm not going to be shooting them unless they're trying to take away my right.
Now, I do agree that you should keep some of your guns, and that is actually something that we believe in too. Thou shalt not covet their neighbor's house, or his wife, or his manservant, or maidservant, or his ox, or his cattle, which means
Or his
God, that we may
possessions.
not estrange, force, or entice away from our neighbor's wife, his man, children, and that means everything, essentially, that you should not take from anybody. And that goes along with you shall not steal. But when it comes to murder, then I'm sure God
Oh,
meant something by putting that as the 10th commandment and thou shalt not murder as the 5th commandment.
oh yeah, I'm not kidding, but I don't really pay attention to the 10 commandments as much. I prefer to follow the 2 of Jesus, which said love God and love your neighbor. And sometimes that means I need to be armed because I love my neighbor's right to live as he chooses. I love my neighbor's rights to do
As he
whatever the hell
chooses.
they
So why are
want.
you calling me a liar? Why are you saying my information's wrong? As he chooses. You said to live as he chooses. Therefore, if
Oh,
our
I'm
president,
not gonna. I'm not gonna. There's a difference between living as you choose and calling out false information when you see it. And the idea that gun control is necessary is just completely false. The idea that it's moral is false. It's not moral. How is taking away somebody's rights to do as they choose moral, even if it's for the supposed benefit of all or the greater good? That's mighty Machiavellian, if you ask me. That's pretty ends
well,
justify the means of me to me. That's
before we fight anymore on this issue, and it's getting late, and
yeah, no, I agree, and I kind of want to
I'd
watch
like
the
to watch
game.
the Cubs game, Cubs versus Indians
What's
game.
what's the series at 3-1?
Yeah,
Indians up.
yeah. They
Okay.
win tonight. They win the World Series. So
I was about to say I'm not really a baseball fan. I kind of hope the Indians win because Cleveland has to have something. I mean, to make up for the Browns,
mhm.
and not only that, but I think God hates the Cubs more than he hates the Indians, or he hates Cleveland. Anyway,
Well,
peace, man. Sorry about getting a little bit heated, and
we both
I'm
did.
gonna have to work. No, I'm gonna have to work on that whenever that issue gets brought up because I know every Democrat's gonna bring it up, and I have to manage to keep my cool.
If you're gonna run for Senate, you gotta have that type of
Hey,
stamina.
I mean, I could keep going for hours and hours, but I need to keep my cool so as not to sound Tim Kaine-ish.
Uh, just saying, if you were in a debate with Hillary Clinton and debating this, Hillary Clinton would win.
Well, I'd bring
Go
up
on
her
now.
quotes, and then I'd bring up my facts and figures. If I had gotten as heated as I did today, yeah, I would have lost that round, even though I was factually correct. Which
Yeah.
I could send you the information if you want, but I don't think that's going to change your mind. So
No.
anyway, peace out, man. I gotta go.
Let's see ya.
See ya.